You're listening to the Marginally Geeky Show, the epically geeky book club.
Greetings and welcome to the Marginally Geeky Show. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight I'm joined by Chris and Jennifer. How are y'all doing?
Hey, I'm
Lovely.
here.
Good. You have probably noticed from almost all of our feeds that we kind of unofficially took a month off. So if you're listening to this, don't worry. The other shows are coming back. We're not going anywhere. It's been a month. It's been a month and a half and not even a month's time. So, but yeah, we are still doing the shows. We still are planning. We've got plans for the future. Nothing's happening like that. We're not, quietly going away or anything like that. So, maybe I should have put something out earlier saying, hey, we're not going to be here for a little while. But anyway, it is what it is. That being said, so tonight's episode, we are talking about How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell. Jen, this was your pick. You want to tell us real quick why you picked the book and a brief synopsis of it?
Well, I, like many of my age, including folks on this call, I think, suffer from like a feeling that I constantly need to be doing and producing and using my time the most efficiently. As I get older, I find myself falling into that trap more and more where, like, every minute that I don't have headphones in, listening to something, learning something, listening to a book, or just even, walking around, like I have to constantly be double or multitasking. And this book came to my attention a year or so ago when I was actually listening to another podcast, and he interviewed the author, and I thought, that sounds interesting, but right now I don't have time to listen to it. So yeah, fast forward to my book pick, and I thought, you know what, I think I would benefit from this, and probably everybody else in the group. And yeah, that's how I came to pick it.
Okay. Um, do you want to elaborate with a brief synopsis of the book?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a critique of the attention economy and how social media, the internet, I guess more broadly, has really made people around the world, but specifically, people probably in countries where the internet's the most prevalent, become more addicted to technology, addicted to their screens, and kind of necessitated the need for, like I said, this feeling of I constantly need to be on, I constantly need to be on my phone or listening to something or reading something, or just like giving my attention to other things and not just being present and doing nothing and enjoying life. And I kind of went into it thinking it was going to be like her talking about how to disengage from the world and check out and whatever, and it was kind of refreshing that actually wasn't the case. She kind of gave more of a, like, it's important to disconnect sometimes, but you still need to participate in society, and we all need to continue being a part of the world, just doing it in a way that's not as destructive to ourselves, I guess. And for me, that resonated because I constantly struggle with the feeling that I'm not doing enough. And I'll vacillate between, like, I want to withdraw completely from the world, to I have to give myself over entirely, like all of my attention and time, and then I have no time for me. So kind of hearing someone else say that, they're going through the same thing and they've struggled with that, and then knowing that I can maybe find a balance in the middle, if that makes sense. Yeah, that was nice to hear. And a lot of times you just hear people say when they're like frustrated with how things are going, that they want to, yeah, pack it up, move to a farm and never, like, talk to anybody again. And I joke about that with my friends, but like, I don't think I could do that realistically, because the guilt of, like, yeah, the world's still on fire and I still need to be trying to make it better would be there. So anyways, that's a very broad, brief overview, but anybody else want to jump in with their takeaway?
I was going to ask Chris if she wanted to share her thoughts real quick, but it looks like she's busy right now.
No, one of my cats, that was Trelawney.
Uh-huh.
She's our feral we're pretty sure she's got some head damage. She's not the quickest cat. She's kind of stupid. Yeah, she just found me downstairs. So this is the first. Yeah,
This is the first time,
she's
huh?
yeah. Well, no, she finds me downstairs, but she's I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, my thoughts. So, I was really frustrated with this book. I didn't. I really liked the title, so I was super encouraged because, again, we're all millennials and Gen Xers, so we grew up. We only had a short amount of time without the internet, and then all of our adult life has been online, and then subsequently, mine and Yuji's kids too. They don't know anything but the internet, and so I wanted to hear. I was looking forward to hearing how Jenny would, like, her suggestions or her ideas for it, and I just found myself really frustrated with the angle she went with it. That's not what I was expecting, and the more I read, the more I'm like, I don't. This book, these types of books frustrate me because it's ideas and thoughts, and other people are thinking this way. There was a lot of name dropping in this book, and I knew 3 people she was talking about. And she's very, into that art scene, which is really cool. But it just felt for me like it was all ideas and all talking, but there was no solutions. And I think for me, when I thought of that book, I was like, all right, I'm looking for solutions. I'm looking for ideas. And that is not this book. But if you just want sort of like a, just to start the thought process of it, to make you think differently about how your attention is, a commodity to companies, then yeah, absolutely. But for me, I think I kind of went in with it with the wrong attitude.
Yeah, I agree to that point, Chris. And I forgot to mention, like, this book is very highly critical of the capitalist society, and she brought in a lot more of that than I expected. I mean, I agreed with most of what she said, and how, like, capitalism monetizes our time and it's like destructive and all these things, but that wasn't what I expected going into it. And yeah, that was a little bit like kind of like high level theory that if you're looking for solutions, it's not, it's like, okay, you can mention it, but like, let's go on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking definitely for solutions in that book. This book particularly doesn't offer any at all. So that's for me it reminded me a lot of Sarah Wilson's book, where I feel like I was I'm not the right demographic. I'm not the target audience for something like this. Doesn't mean that it wasn't a good book, but I was like, and going to school where I went to school and spending 3 years in a natural resource college, I already knew kind of a lot of all of that. And yeah, so it's just like, I feel like I'm in school and I'm reading a textbook that my teacher gave me, and I have to write an essay about it. So yeah, it was wasn't for me.
I'll jump in real quick. Yeah, I didn't like this book. I didn't like this book at all. And I even warned, I think part of the reason why Ray is not on is Chris kind of said, I don't think you're going to enjoy this. And I basically was like, dude, just no.
Yeah, this is not a book for Ray. Yeah, no, not a Ray book.
No, this is not a book for Ray.
I figured that's why Sean didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I flat out told Sean, I said, you're not gonna care for this one either.
No, Sean doesn't like these books.
So here's the thing. I think the biggest problem with this book is, and Chris kind of said it already. The biggest problem with this book was me. My expectations were not met with this book. Reading the title and the synopsis, I was like, no, this sounds interesting. Let me give you a little background, kind of where I'm coming from at this point. So there was a book that I read years and years ago. I almost recommended it for this show, and I don't think we've ever read it. What is it called? Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. And it is about, it's kind of like the Bible for the I don't even know what to really call it, but the boss bitch, just you can do anything as long as you're willing to put the time, effort, and energy. That lifestyle that came into
hustle culture.
The
Yes,
grind.
exactly.
Yeah.
That really
Hustle,
rose
yeah.
up years ago. And
Mhm.
I get it. Like that was the time when we were kind of first starting the website and everything. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can, go to work and be with my family and then, sacrifice the rest of the time and try to get things done and everything else. And in recent years, I think COVID, one of the benefits, there's very few, but one of the benefits of COVID was it caused a lot of people to slow down and take credit for stuff. I have definitely reevaluated life since losing my dad and like one of my grandmothers and my cat. Like these were all big, heavy things that hit me all within 1 year. Um, and so I am definitely on the other side of that where it's, um, how am I spending my time? Is this worthy of my time? Am I doing what I should be doing? Is there other places I should be putting my energy and stuff? So yeah, reading the title for this book, I was like, oh, this sounds great. I'm gonna enjoy this book. And I did not. And it's funny because the author even says so. Like in the first chapter, she even
Yeah.
mentions that this was the title for it, and people were like, I can't remember if it was her or someone else was just like, this is not really a great title for it. And she's just like, meh, we're gonna go with it. And I kind of should have known then. Um, it's funny because there are some things in the book that she covers that I'm like, okay, I get it why you're throwing it in there. But there's also some very obvious stuff that I'm just like, and I blame you for this, Jen. I blame you for this. You have exposed us to other stuff in other books, and I'm just like, well, why didn't you cover this? Like, why didn't you cover that? And it was not like I said I was expect. So I guess my expectations were, um, basically slow down. That was the essential thing I was looking for. Slow down, not necessarily pull completely back, but find space for yourself.
Smell the roses.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I was expecting. And I was expecting it to cover um business, of course, businesses want to do nothing but monopolize your time. Um, and I love the fact that I don't know, maybe it's just me, but my TikTok and Reels and stuff like that all have shown a lot of that stuff of um, what your business, what your job may expect from you. And sorry, that's not your business. That's mine. Like you don't have any authority over what I do at home and how much time I'm putting in. And just because I'm not willing to break my back and put in 80 hours a week doesn't mean that I'm a good employee. Screw that. I'm a good employee, but I'm not going to give you all of my extra time as well. I was expecting that. But like I thought she was like even gonna cut. I was like, okay, I'm surely we're gonna get something here about like fast fashion and how don't listen to all the social media and stuff that you have to have the newest stuff. Like there's no reason to feel like you have to keep up with the Joneses and keep buying the newest clothing and stuff or the newest whatever it might be. And like I said, there were things I was kind of expecting to be in there that weren't. There were things in there that uh was expecting. There was some other stuff. And just overall, I like I said, I think it's the problem was me. It was my mindset. What I was expecting is not what I got out of it. And I think you really kind of defined it for me, Chris, that it was more theory than actionable items listed in the book. So I don't want to knock the book too hard, uh, mainly because, like I said, it was a perspective / what I was, it was my expectations that were not met, and that's not fair to the author because
Mhm.
we run into that constantly nowadays, no matter what it might be, pop culture, book, whatever. It's people give an idea in their head of what something's going to be, and if it doesn't meet it, a lot of times then it was horrible. No, it just maybe wasn't for you. So I will say that I didn't enjoy the book, but like I said, I'm going to put that onus on me that it was my fault because it's not what I was expecting. So
Mhm.
It's you. Hi. You're the problem.
yeah, no, right?
I think like those are fair arguments. For me, the book really like I guess is valuable because it starts the conversation for a lot of people that maybe aren't familiar with some of the concepts you were talking about like like a lot of people are still in that grind hustle mode, right? So I think anytime we can introduce the idea that like that's toxic, that's not actually work life balance for you, and it's I don't know, like I just reject the notion that we need to be working, like you said, 50, 60, 70 hours a week and having families and participating in civic life and, you know, like all of these things to be considered successful. And I think it's good for some people to hear different, you know, ways of it being presented, that like it's actually okay to not work that much and to not have a side hustle and do, you know, all these things and just kind of enjoy life, but still participate in ways that are meaningful, if that makes sense.
What you just said, listening to you, just kind of, I think I have figured out who this book is for, and maybe this is more of a starter book. This is because you have picked so many books that we've listened to, read, that go deeper into some of these subjects. This is more of a starter book. This is more of, here's the overall theory, and then from here you could go into some of those more specific things and get a little bit deeper. So maybe that's the problem, is we were reading a 101 book and we've already gotten up to 306 classes.
You mean my indoctrination is working?
So
yeah.
I'm deprogramming you all.
It has not taken a lot. Like I said, just because of life things that have come in. Like, for example, I never thought about it. It's one of those interesting things that when people point it out, you go, you know, I never thought about that way, but damn, it makes a lot of sense. Like, one of my big things, my boys started 6th grade this year, and I have twin boys, so there's 2 of them, and they were in different math classes, and the one had homework every single night. And I went into I won't go into all of it, but we ended up having his math teacher changed because she was firmly of the theory that, oh, well, it's math. They need to be working on math every night. And, you know, I picked up through social media, you know, there are some good things on social media still, that, yeah, homework is basically just training the kids to work after hours at your job in the future, and just to expect this is the norm. And I'm just like, I like that theory. So screw homework. Because I mean, like, it was to the point that, like, now granted, soccer was also eating up all of our time in the evenings as well, but there wasn't enough time to get the homework done and soccer. And then, you know, at 6th grade, so their previous couple of years have been okay. They've liked some of their teachers. They haven't liked so much some of their classes. I think also the fact that being in 5th grade, you spend, you know, these 2, 3, 4-hour blocks of time with the same kids. If you get a couple knuckleheads in there, it gets really annoying. You move to 6th grade, now you're moving 6, 7 different classes. If you're in there with someone you don't care for, you're only in there an hour. Like, that's doable. So I think that's also helped. But yeah, like that type of theory that, yeah, you should be working all the time. And I started doing this to myself all the way back in high school. Like, I literally, now granted, it was a little different story. I literally goofed off and basically did nothing all summer. And then school rolled back around. I was just like, I wasted the entire freaking summer. Like, and I kind of swore to myself, I'm not going to allow myself to be bored and not do anything anymore. And I've worked myself way past that part. And so I'm a recovering workaholic in that aspect. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. And it does hit deep with me on pulling back and not doing anything. Cause, like, I mean, there have been times that we've been doing this show and I'm in charge of the Ghostbusters, and I had an Etsy store, and it's just like, I've got a big story coming up here in just a few minutes. I want to tell. There was something that came out of this that was really good for me, kind of tangentially, but we'll talk about that. What was your favorite part of the book, Jen?
Oh, geez. I don't know if I had like one specific thing, but I did like some of the stories she pulled in from other cultures to kind of make the point, especially. Like, I guess I liked that she really went into some of the environmental aspects. I know you said she didn't go as far as she could have, but like that was kind of a surprise for me, and a nice surprise that, like, oh, she's talking about us, you know, like living it more in contact with the natural world and learning our local ecosystems and this and that. So I appreciated that, because that's not a viewpoint that you hear a lot in, you know, books at all, or books like this, I guess. So
yeah. Chris, any particular favorite part?
Yeah, I appreciated the part where she was talking about the hippie movement back in the 60s and 70s, and how and why it didn't work. How the intention was there, but because I've experienced something similar. The intention of kind of dropping out and starting over was there, and it was a noble intention. The hippies had good ideas, but you can't drop out of society. You can't decide you're going to just opt out. You can't do that because you live in the country, and the country has an infrastructure, and the country has stuff. So you can't do that. And she's like, unless you go to space, right? So I appreciated her saying, while it was a good idea, it was misguided in that you thinking you could actually completely opt out from the systems that you are against. So when Ray and I, well, the kids were really little. I think Quinn was like 4 or 5. We decided to sell all our stuff. I'd been watching a lot of tiny house YouTube, like a lot. And the picture they had painted was, this is the answer. This is the answer to all your financial troubles. You will have more freedom, more time. It's the best thing ever. And we're like, fuck it, that sounds amazing. So what do? We sell all of our stuff, which was also very cathartic and things like that too. And we lived in a trailer for 3 months with a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. And it was the best summer of our lives. And it was great. Then we bought a tiny house, and it was thumbing our nose at the building codes, because the building codes in our county at that time was you couldn't build anything under 935 square feet. We're like, we don't want anything that big. We just spent 3 months in a 200 whatever square foot space. We're good. We don't need that big. And we bought a 620 square foot cottage, except it was the biggest money pit, and we weren't happier, and it wasn't financial freedom, and it wasn't anything that they touted. And I was so livid. I'd been lied to. I felt duped, and I felt stupid. And anytime I hear that, it's freedom, opt out, free human, I hate that. I'm like, no, the only time you're free is when you're fucking dead. That's it. You always are a part of the infrastructure of wherever you're living, whether you like it or not. So it's nice that you think, you in our countries, we have a lot of leeway with what we do. We're allowed to, say how much we hate the government. We have a lot of infrastructure at our hands, and that's great. But we're still a part of it. There's still rules. There's still protocols that we all have to follow. So again, unless you plan on living on the moon by yourself, governing yourself, you're part of the system. And I think the freedom in all of that comes from realizing you're part of the system. So just fucking make it work for you. Don't leave. Don't try to fight against it. And that comes with attention. Don't give it your attention. You have to give it some of your attention, because you need food and a roof over your head and things like that. But you don't have to be a slave to the grind, to the hustle culture. And I also felt that this book was, I could really tell this was written before COVID. I'm like, oh, this was very much before COVID, because I feel like the ideas of hustle culture have changed since everybody was forced to slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't. Unfortunately, it's been a while since I've read this book, because I read it the month before, when we were, originally going to do this last month or earlier this month, and so some of it's kind of fallen away from me. But there were definitely some little tidbits here and there. Some of the specific stories, and I'm like you. I really thought it was going to go into the pulling back from stuff. Like I said, the initial original idea, I did really like the fact of pulling back and not giving certain things all of your attention, because the first thing that came to mind, like you said, was social media. Was maybe don't check Facebook 15 times a day, and Instagram and whichever other ones you're using or whatever. So I actually felt that it could have been more of that in the book. And just talking about, maybe Facebook's not the best place to get news. Maybe, maybe you unsubscribe to all the news feeds that you're using. And how about you just go watch the news for 30 minutes in the evening, and that'll be your news.
What worked really well for me when I started feeling myself get sucked into social media was just turning off notifications, push notifications on my phone.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get the notifications unless I go to the app, so like every time someone comments on a Facebook post or likes an Instagram picture.
Yeah. I mean, I've got mine pretty much set so that if someone specifically, if they comment, fine. But if they specifically say, hey, Optimus Gene, hey, Eugene, then I
Mhm.
have it set it so because it may be someone trying to get a hold of me. Because like I said, I am part of I'm kind of the team. I'm the team lead for the Austin Ghostbusters, so it is kind of important when someone reaches out. Hey, we'd like you to
Mhm.
come to our event or something like that. I need to be notified of that type of stuff. But yeah, no, totally. Like I don't need it constantly dinging every time something is liked
Mhm.
or shared or something like that. I'm just like, I don't care.
I
So,
think like especially living in Europe, it's really driven home for me how fucked our system in the US is with regard to like glorifying the hustle culture because we get I think if you're lucky you start with maybe a week or two of vacation, you know,
Mhm.
at a full-time job, and then even if you take it, you know, half the time people are still checking emails and calls and whatever. And like in Europe, I think they minimum get a month, 4 weeks, and they're they're not they're checked out, you know. Like they
mhm.
might take the whole month at once, or if they're out they're not checking emails or whatever. So like it's completely like they look at us and they're like, you guys really only get 2 weeks. That's cruel and unusual. And I don't know, that's just one example, but like just the mindset around work is a lot different in different ways. And yeah, like I've worked jobs where I gave them 70, 80 hours of my time a week, and I was making decent money when you looked at the paycheck, but like when you broke it down by hour, it was probably minimum wage or less, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not that great, and I had no time for my family and my friends or myself, and I couldn't do anything. All I was doing was sleeping, eating and working because I was so tired.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, I learned real quick. Like I was 19, 20 when that happened, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not doing this ever again." Like I refuse to give myself to a company, especially making fucking pizza, you know, like was what I was doing. Like I'm killing myself to make pizza, and they don't care about you. Like
No.
they
Yeah.
would they wouldn't do the same for you. So like why are you
Yeah.
killing yourself for them?
Well, and I think the younger generation, like I have two, well, I don't know if your kids are Gen Z. They might be Gen Alpha, Eugene. My kids are Gen Z. Logan's going to be 18 in January. She's in her last year of high school, so she's thinking about college and what she's going to be doing in her life. And Ray's really great at always setting the tone because of the nature of our relationship. He works outside the home and I'm at home. And it has set him back in his career by telling people who are in the hiring, I am not here for the company. I am a family man. I work for my time off. And because he's not willing to go above and beyond, it stunted his career. But he knows it's because he's like, no, I'm not. This is a great paycheck that I want to take home and do shit with. I don't want to be at work. I like my wife. I like my kids. I
Yeah.
want to be at home. So the kids have seen that, and we've had talks where it's like 9 to 5 jobs, nothing wrong with that, but just know it's not everything, and it'll get a job that affords the lifestyle that you want. That's your goal. If you want to go on lots of trips and vacations and or have a particular type of house or whatever, go for a job that affords you the life that you want. Not don't work until
Mm-hmm.
you know you can't, because they've seen, I think Gen Z has seen what bullshit that is for millennials. We got drilled into our heads, go to college, you got to go to college, you have to go to university, that's the only way. Happened, then you get hit with a massive recession, so it means nothing. And student loans that you're still paying off and all this. So the hustle doesn't work. It doesn't
Mhm.
work.
But
And
get a side
millennials have
job.
proven it.
Get a side gig,
Get a
you know?
side job. Well, especially
Work
me
on
as
the
a
weekends.
stay-at-home mom. Yeah, like when are you going back to work? When are you going back to work? When are you going back to work? I'm like, I'm not fucking going back to work. I do work. Just because I don't get paid. That's the other thing too about being a
Oh yeah,
stay-at-home
that's a whole
parent
other thing.
Uh-huh.
is
The care
that,
economy.
yeah, if I don't produce a paycheck that gets taxed, I'm not a contributing member of society, even though I'm here doing all the things that need to be done anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's not,
Well, and
I don't do anything.
Well, see,
I
and I've
did
come around
appreciate.
to the theory that someone proposed the idea that, yeah, we need to go to 4-day work weeks here in the US,
Hmm.
specifically because the 40-hour work week came around from the idea of the husband works outside of the home and is married, and the wife takes care of all the stuff that's at home.
Hmm.
And that's not my life. I don't, with the exception of you, Chris, I maybe know one, maybe two other people that are in that boat. So the question is, if Christy and I are both putting in 40 hours, when does the home stuff get taken care of? And the
Mhm.
question and the answer is
So weekend, your time off.
exactly. And
Yeah.
we have both gotten into a place where we make a little bit more money. So like we pay a lady to come clean, do a really nice clean of the house every 2 weeks, and we do a little, pick up, whatever on the weekends. The boys also now have chores that has helped out with that. But yeah, like there was a long stretch of time. It was literally either Friday night or Saturday morning. It was like, all right, well, first thing we gotta do is clean the house. Well, that's already 3 or 4 hours eaten up right there. This is before you could also do the either home delivery or have, put in your groceries or whatever. Well, that was another 2 or 3 hours that I was spending shopping. And a lot of times it was like, well, do you want to shop or do you want to clean the house? And one of us would do one and one of us would do the other. And still that's 2-3 hours immediately cut off from the rest of your weekend. And a lot of times it was work. It was actual work. So it's not like you were just kind of half-ass doing stuff. Like you were tired afterwards. It was like, well, what do you want to do now? I don't know, lay on the couch and
Sleep.
not really do anything. Like
Mhm.
I kind of have the time off. I'd kind of like to go do something I want to do, but I'm tired. Screw this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I do appreciate. I think she mentioned in the book like the fact that we undervalue the care economy and unpaid workers, and
Mhm.
that there is a movement out there to pay people for doing this work in some way, or universal basic income or something. But like, yeah, the economy as we know it now would not function without people doing this work for free.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And people take that for granted. Like somebody, look at COVID. How many people, mostly women, quit their jobs because they couldn't get childcare or
Mhm.
because somebody got sick and they had to take care of them? Like, it's an issue. It's something we need to like reassess in our society, because you can't keep expecting people to just work, and treat them like, oh, you don't, like you said, Chris, like, oh, you're not working, but you're working.
Yeah. Like a lot, but that's the question that I get from certain family members of certain ages.
Of certain
So what are you
ages.
up to? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm at home. Oh, but like, what are you like? Are you working? I'm like, at home. It's gotten to a point where I call myself the house manager now. I'm like, I'm the house manager. I am the
CFO.
CEO of this dwelling.
And
That's
yeah,
what I
that's a
do.
perfectly. I think that's a fantastic. When you
Yeah.
first mentioned that a couple of months ago, I was like, no, that's a fantastic name for what it is you
Chief
do as
family
house
officer.
manager.
I am. But I am like, I'm the chief I'm the head. I run this joint, and Ray's the chief financial officer, right? Because he goes in
Yeah.
there. So, but I do everything else. And I think the other thing with the hustle culture is I have a tendency to like automatically rebel against the status quo. I remember I was really like Ray and I were first starting dating. I'm like, I am not meant for a conventional life. Heads up. So like, I'm weird. Do that with what you will. And so the grind really pisses me off. The fact that because somebody has chosen rest, they're looked at as lazy. And then I'm loving the pushback from Gen Zs and some, younger millennials who are like, I don't want to be a girl boss. I want to be a moss girl. I want to lay down in a forest and be absorbed by the detritus of life. Like I don't
be a
want
I
to
had
witch.
not heard that term, and I
yeah,
love
like
it.
girl mom. Yeah, absolutely. Or like
Yeah.
I want to have a summer where I'm like a Victorian person suffering from like malaise and I have to go
Oh
out to
yeah,
the ocean
forget
and
hot
get
girl
better.
summer,
Yeah,
right?
forget hot girl
Yeah.
summer, right? Like Victorian sick girl summer. And it's nice to see that there is that pushback of like, it doesn't sound great. That actually
Yeah.
sounds pretty fucking terrible
Exhausting.
Yeah.
to just go and do what? And then you die. And in Japan, that's a thing that's like an honor to like when students fall asleep in school, teachers like reward them because that's all they've been doing is school and studying, and they've stayed up really late, obviously doing the work, so they've slept. And then people also work themselves to death. They literally drop dead from how much work they're doing, and it's sort of like a badge of honor. And it's sad. It just really sucks.
Yeah, I know several
Yeah.
people that. Well, my dad, for example, we finally convinced him to retire, and 6 months later, he had a
Yeah.
heart attack and died. And I was like, he did get to enjoy time, but
Hmm.
not like not like it wasn't the he got to retire and then spend several years and do whatever he wanted to do or whatever. It was and I am steadfast. Like Christy and I are building a house right now, and the final goal was I'm like, I am retiring in 10 years. period.
Mhm.
Now, if
Mhm.
I need to get something small, maybe to help supplement, as long as it's something that I'm somewhat enjoying, or if it is just flat out something I'm enjoying, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind putting in work if it's work that I enjoy, because for me that is different. So like if I got up Monday through Friday and jumped out of bed and like got to work from 8 till 6 or whatever every day, but if I was working in my shop and doing stuff that I want to do, that's different
Yeah.
than I got to 3D print these things so I can put
Yeah.
them in my Etsy shop so I can sell them. That's what really burned me out really quickly.
Well, and that's something else. Like everybody, I think part of this grind culture is like everybody thinks if you have a hobby, you
Yes.
can monetize
Yes.
it.
You have to freaking
You can
monetize it. Yeah.
you can sell your crochet stuff. And I know you were doing it for fun, not like as your prime, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can
Right.
sell your 3D printing. Even me, I'm like, oh, I want to learn how to do this, and then maybe I can sell it. And I have to like stop myself and say, no, I can just like give it as
Do
a
it for
gift,
me.
enjoy
Yeah.
it, keep it. Yeah, like look at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that
I just
also,
think
like the whole selling your stuff because you have a hobby as a stay-at-home parent, that's like, well, I have to provide money. So I can do this thing and I like doing it, so I should sell it. So it's taken me so long to be like, just because it's a hobby, Chris, does not mean you have to sell it.
yeah.
It's just for you. Get over the guilt of not bringing in a paycheck. You do other work. So yeah, it takes but it's beaten into you. Well, you're at home, so clearly you have all of this free time, which I do not. So clearly you want to do this, and it's like, well, I mean, if you're going to guilt me into it, I guess, but I don't
Yeah, I've
want
already
to.
been contacted. I've done nothing but make foam armor for seems like the last 2 weeks or whatever, and I was already contacted. I did another update post, and I was already contacted by someone going, "Hey, do you think you could make foam armor?" And I was just like, "No,
Nope. No is a
nope."
full sentence. Nope.
My first sentence should have been, "You can't afford me. Like the amount of time and effort.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to charge you so much is going to be
Yeah.
ridiculous." And then if you did say yes, I'd be like, well, maybe. But even then, I'd be like, no, I'm good on this. So
Yeah, what you're saying, Eugene, though, about like people who work so late in life and then finally retire or never retire, I see that, and I just feel sad because I'm like,
I do too.
Yeah.
it's like they think the only way to get value out of life is by working, or
Mhm.
they feel like, and genuinely, I do agree. Like, if you stop working, you should continue doing other things because your mind and your body need to keep having interactions with people. Like, don't stop working and then sit at home all day, obviously, but like, you can volunteer, you can join clubs, you can travel, you can do so many things to still make your life worthwhile. And like, I'm not working right now because I'm transitioning between school and whatever, but like, I can't wait to retire, you know, like I'm already thinking like, when I retire, I can do all these things because I'll have money. And right now I'm not working, but I don't have the money. So it's like, you know, you just think about like, oh man, that's such a great opportunity to explore other things in life and maybe pick up the hobbies you haven't been able to or whatever. But yeah, I hope that this generation and going forward kind of like honors or I don't know, values
Mhm.
retirement and looks forward to time not working.
So
Yeah.
this is kind of tangential to the conversation of the book, but it did come around because of the book. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and throw it in there. This book, maybe a little bit, led to me having a slight existential crisis. So what's funny is I had just finished reading it and I had been thinking about it, and this was on a Friday night, and my wife was feeding the turtle that's over here behind me, and she just kind of offhand makes the comment, "What is your?" She's looking at, "What is your purpose? What is it you do? What do you what is what why are you here?" And I just jokingly looked at her and said, "Well, why are you here? What is your purpose?" And so I'd been just finished, a full work week. I'd been doing stuff. And I got up. We were doing the Casa superhero run in Austin the next morning. So I got up, set up on it, was like at 6 or so. So I got up at like 4, 5 in the morning. Yeah, it was not good. And so I'm driving in my car, done up like an ecto, driving to this event. And I went to go put something on to listen to. I'm like, oh, that's right. I just finished that book that I didn't really care about. And do I want to start another book? Do I want to listen to music? And it just kind of popped in my head. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I dressed like a Ghostbuster. I've done up my car. I've done all this crap to prepare for this. Why am I doing this? Should I be home sleeping and spending the morning with my boys and my wife or whatever? And so I literally went down an existential rabbit hole. And I came out the other side feeling good about myself and feeling like, no, this is not just me goofing off. Like, this is me. Yes, I'm dressed up and as a Ghostbuster, whatever. But I'm there taking pictures with people who have volunteered their time and their money to help kids. And I'm putting good into the world. I've had a conversation. I had a conversation with one of the other guys the other day about he does a lot of plays and he does a lot of he's done several different movies and stuff, and he's kind of thinking about pulling back from some of it and moving to some of the stuff. And anyway, I was like, so is this your last play? Because it was really grueling for him. And he's like, yeah. He said, but he said, when I'm not in one, I want to be in one, and vice versa. And I'm like, well, at least, if nothing else, I said, I had this thought about it, and I'm like, I'm at least doing good. I'm at least putting good out into the world, even if it is just making people smile. I can still say 100%. But I mean, I can look back and see that I've helped raise over $2,000 for this charity this year that we work for. I'm having fun doing it. It is work to some extent, tiring, but I'm like, once I got there, I had a good time and everything. But I was just like, this is worth my time. This is worth my time and effort. And I've told Christy and the boys, I'm like, listen, it's gonna be a little rough right now, just because I've got a bunch of stuff planned right now, but eventually it will lay out. And the boys have even told me, they're like, Dad, we want you to, we know you're busy and stuff right now, but it's okay. We're doing all right or whatever. And I've had those conversations with them, and I do try to find time to sit down and just watch TV with Christy, just to do whatever or whatever. But yeah, this kind of did lead me down that path of, have I pulled back enough? And what time I have reclaimed, am I using it in a reasonable manner? And my answer to that was yes. I do think I definitely overbooked us these last 2 months. We're unfortunately falling prey to our success of getting our name out there and wanting to do events and stuff. But yeah, like after Halloween, I'm like, I need to rest. But I still have this energy that I'm sure I'm gonna want to do stuff with. But as long as I'm having fun doing it and it's something that I'm interested in, and I'm not just giving up my time to people who are not going to appreciate it, I think I'm in okay. I think I'm in an okay place. I think I'm doing the right thing. Do what?
EGX.
I know. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. Anyway, so
Got that.
but yeah, so like I said, there was something that was definitely beneficial that came out of reading the book. Like I said, it did kind of lead me down this existential rabbit hole for a while, and I was just like, no, I like where I came out on this. But yeah, like going back to my initial point, there are some things I was like, I wish it kind of would have gone into some more specific stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, that I did get something out of the book. Like I said, and I think talking about it with y'all has kind of made me come around to the idea that maybe this is more of a starter idea book than here's how you can do stuff. And because I would still like to read that book. I would still like to see. I mean, everyone knows about like we've talked about, social media's become really good at reels and stuff like that about, hey, maybe turn off notifications. Maybe don't worry about, trying to keep up with every single thing. Maybe taking time for yourself is not a bad thing.
Unsubscribe from the email or the
right. Exactly. Yes.
Like, do the small things that can add up.
Yeah. And I would still like to find that book and maybe read it, where it's like, hey, here's some things, you don't have to do all of it, but maybe here's some thoughts on some things you could do that would kind of help out. And then going back from completely pulling back, it's funny, someone posted something the other day, as we record this, the world is going bananas over in the Middle East right now, and someone even posted the now granted, it's Hollywood and it is a speech from a movie, so take it with a grain of salt, but the comment at the end of which one was it? I want to say it was Captain America Civil War, that the Black Panther gives about, now is not the time to build walls, now is the time to build bridges. And I thought about that when you were talking about pulling back from everything. You don't want to pull back from everything. You can't pull back from everything.
Mm-mm.
You just need to, maybe we need some walls and some bridges. Like maybe everything completely open's not good, and doing everything all the time. Maybe you do need to just sit back and have that show that you just veg out on and have fun. And it doesn't have to be a book report. You don't have to read a book just because you're going to, do a book report on it. You don't have to watch a show because you're going to write a review or talk about it on something. It definitely helps us because by doing the shows that we do, it gives us a reason and a mostly set time
Deadline.
to say, nope, I am scheduling this time to sit down and talk with my friends, and we can talk about something that we've done, or it kind of gives us an idea. And then we usually wander off into the woods and talk about other things as well. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I'll
I
shut up.
think you bring up a good point though. Like, I think you've always been really good, Eugene, about like knowing when you get to the point where you're overtaxed or you're overstretched and pulling back and evaluating, okay, this has to go, this has to go. Like I remember shortly after I met you years and years ago when Geek Fest first started and you were starting to get involved, and then you guys got pregnant and you were like, oh, everything stops. We're focusing on this. And that was like complete, redirect and reevaluation of everything. And then as the boys got older, you started dipping your toe back and doing more and more and more. And next thing you know, you're back to that, okay, this is way too much. What's got to go kind of thing. And I've seen that like happen with you, it kind of cycles or whatever.
Yes,
and
yes, it does.
I know that that's like my life as well. Like for a long time, in my previous careers would just say yes to everything, every volunteer opportunity, every networking, every like after hours thing. Cause I just thought, well, one, somehow it'll help me. Two, I'm lonely and I want to like be around people. and three, like I genuinely did enjoy it. But there did come a point where it was like you said, this volunteer position or whatever isn't really helping people or isn't really like making me feel like it's worthy of my time. And I had to go through a hard kind of pullback of, I don't want to spend my time on this, and that's okay. I can, do something else that makes me happier, that makes me feel like I'm actually making a difference in the world. And I met someone who once said, like, everything you say yes to or everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else in your life. So when you give someone your time, you're taking it away from yourself. And that really stuck with me. And I tried to like keep that in mind when new things come up. I'm not always good at it, but I think I'm better than I was like 10 years ago when I was just the yes man to everything. And
I remember those points in your life. Like I was like, damn, I've got kids, I've got a wife, I've got a full-time job, and I've got all this other stuff. But Jen blows me out of the water with her.
But
Like I remember
you
showing me your phone one time with your calendar, and I was just like, damn.
But that was the main reason I could do a lot of that, right? Is like I didn't have a family, didn't have a significant other. If I had, I might have prioritized my time differently, but since I didn't. But that's the other thing, like people just assume that because you're single, oh, she can be the one to do this. She can show up early, she can volunteer. And it kind of feels like a lot of times it's just assumed that single people without kids, whatever, are catch-alls because obviously having kids is a commitment and everything, but it's like, but there's also, don't just assume people's time is not taken by something. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure Chris has been approached multiple times about, oh, well, she doesn't have a job. Maybe she could be she could take care of this for the school or do this for the school. And you're just
oh
like,
yeah,
okay.
I have made it my mission to be a deadbeat parent. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. I'm like, listen, I have discovered very early on, like when after Logan turned a year, it was, are you going to go back to work? I'm like, I worked at a grocery store, so no. And all of that money would go to daycare, so no, I'm just going to stay home. Plus, we're planning on having another one. So then after Quinn was born, and then after because maternity leave here in Canada is about a year-ish. So then that's just the natural step. You go back to work. And so when he was little, it was like, I did try to go back to work. He was about a year, and I lasted 3 weeks. I was like, this sucks. I hate it. I don't like it. It's something I did before. while I was in college, so I knew it. It wasn't like I was learning anything new. It felt very familiar, but I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. My kids are too little, and I don't have to be here.
Mhm.
Plus, my money's going to somebody else to take care of them. And so I quit. And then was, well, are you gonna open up a daycare? I'm like, why the fuck am I gonna?
What?
I don't want your children. No.
No.
Your
Oh
kids
my
are
God.
fine with you. Please take them away. I don't like them. I like mine. I love mine. Go away with yours. And then it was MLMs got really big here for a good chunk of time. So then you join one because you're like, we got a car, blah blah blah, and then people sell it to you like it's this amazing flexible lifestyle, and it's not. But yeah, just like, okay, well, you're at home, so you have all of this free time. It's the free time part, and I'm like, it's not free. It is
No.
not free.
Did
And
I
I
mention
just
this house I bought that turned into a money pit that I'm
Yeah, no.
constantly working on?
exactly. Yeah, and just over throughout the kids' lives, trying to start something and realizing very quickly that I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. To the point now where, because my dad will get on my kid, you need a job. I'm like, fuck you, first of all. Second of all, I can't, because I've been home for so long. It's been 18 years. It'll be 18 years in December. I cannot be on somebody else's timeline. I can't have somebody tell me what to do with my own life, essentially. I'm like, no, I am very lucky. I feel very lucky that that Ray's got a great job that pays, that we don't need two incomes. Now we live accordingly. It's not like we live, pretending like we have two jobs.
Mhm.
But just because I don't work outside the home does not mean I have a crap ton. Do I have free time? Yes, but also anthropologists have discovered that the average hunter-gatherer society, they only did about 4 hours of work a day. That's it. That's all they did, because hunting and gathering expended a lot of energy, so they needed to rest a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
then there was something else that I learned, that laziness isn't a thing. That's not a thing. Laziness was invented. It's based on a puritanical myth based on the sin of idleness to force people into labor.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Laziness isn't a thing. Procrastination isn't a sin. It's all made up. And that's what we're telling the kids. I'm like, it's all fucking made up, and then you die. Like, do what you want. There's 8 billion people in the world. There's 8 billion ways to do this. There's no one right way. And yes, there's a lot of people doing similar things, but you don't have to do that if it doesn't fit. Just, you know what you need, go do that. Just learn how to take care of yourself. That's it. Then you're successful. If you can take care of yourself, that's success to me. And that's what we've been telling the kids. It's like, yeah, cool. Do that. All right. That sounds awesome. If it doesn't work out, that's okay too. That's cool. At least
Well,
you
as long as
tried.
you don't wait until Sunday evening to tell me that you got a project that's due the next day.
Well, then
and you need help.
now you're asking for a little
but
bit of
no, I
trouble.
totally get what you're saying.
But yeah, like, it's just the grind just pisses
Yeah.
me off so much. Hate it.
We've kind of wandered off quite a bit, but I think we still have been talking about the main idea that at least the book was presenting.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna kind of go through here real quick because we're almost at an hour already. Let's just talk about the writing. Unfortunately, I didn't really care for the writing that much, and I think there was a review. Actually, there were several reviews on, and I don't normally read the reviews on Audible, but Sean's actually kind of got me started on that. He's like maybe you should go read a review or two and just see if other people kind of think the same thing you are. And so usually I do it either halfway through the book if I don't understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Like Lincoln in the Bardo.
Lincoln in the Bardo.
Or if I get to the end of it and I'm just like feeling a little ambivalent about it or whatever. But anyway, some people posted and I was like, no, yeah, I kind of agree with it. It seemed a little bit like reading an essay. It was like, here's an idea and here's the 3 things that I have to post behind it. And now we're gonna move to the next thing. And I was just, it didn't seem very, it didn't flow. The book did not flow to me. It was like, here's an idea and we're gonna go with this. And there were even some chapters going. I'd have to go back and look at it, but there were even some chapters I was like, I would have moved this one here because it could have flowed better. You kind of like hard stop, new subject, hard stop, new subject, and to me, it could have flowed a little better between chapters. But what did y'all think of the writing?
I learned almost nothing about the author, right? Like listening to this book. I learned that she's really into performance, like art performance pieces, and she's very heavy into the art scene, and she's passionate about that. But she quoted so many people that I just felt like I just didn't know her. I knew where she stood, obviously, because she wrote the book, but like I felt like I didn't really know her, and it reminded me a lot of Sarah Wilson's book, where it was like it was a nice idea, but like I missed what it was supposed to be about, I guess.
Jen?
I didn't really have any issues with the writing, but I also listened to it like in small snippets, so I didn't. I guess I wouldn't have noticed, if it switched abruptly, because I wouldn't remember. I guess where I was before, or you know what I mean. Like I wouldn't have remembered.
Mhm.
Oh, we were here and now we're here. It's completely different. So I don't know. Nothing really stood out to me either
Fair
way.
enough. Well, I've already talked about the existential crisis that I went through, kind of as a tumble. Did the book have any kind of impact on you, Jen?
I mean, nothing major like that, but it just, kind of the ideas are in there marinating, and it kind of makes me more conscious, I guess, of like what I click on or whether I open that email or whatever, because every minute that I'm online, I'm kind of the mercy of the machine. It seems like so.
Before I ask you, Chris, because you were talking about that, and what I just thought of is like, y'all were into the thing where it's like, well, I'm just going to watch a few reels, TikTok, whatever. And then 20, 30, because you're like, man, I don't have enough time to watch a show. And the next thing you know, you're like, damn, I've spent 30 minutes on this. I could have watched an
I
episode
could have
of
watched that.
the thing, or anyway. I run into that. That's one of my biggest problems. Just
I've managed to avoid TikTok so far, so I only
you know
see
what?
what's on Instagram or what people share with me.
Then you know what? You're pretty much, because pretty much everything that's on TikTok ends up funneling over to Reels and everything else. So
Yep.
you're still getting it. There may just be a week delay.
I don't even watch
Mhm.
Reels. I watch I just look at the feed on Instagram. I
Mhm.
don't understand anything beyond that. I'm so like such a grandma at this stage. I'm like, if it's on your story or not your story, your main page, I'll see it. Otherwise,
Mhm.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Chris, did you have any impact from this?
No. Although I did appreciate what she had said about the hippie movement. I did really appreciate that, because I haven't heard that before from somebody. But no, I didn't, which I felt really bad about the entire time. I'm like, I
Not
want
everything
to
has
like
to
things,
hit hard.
and I don't.
We'll wrap
So
up the discussion. Oh, go on.
My last two books. This is my second one that's been a home run for the group.
Listen, I'm not good either. I've had one where everybody liked it. That's it.
Oh, I feel like I'm in the same camp. Like I've
Yeah.
thrown several out there, and several people have been like, yeah, I kind of liked it, and
Yeah.
a couple of people were like, it really wasn't my thing. I was just like, really, I thought y'all were gonna like this one. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's the reason why we do the show, is so
Mhm.
that we're expanding our horizon. So
Yes.
we'll wrap up the discussion with if you could ask the author anything, what would it be? I'm gonna jump in here. We can just be like, why did you stick with the name for this book? Like you even said, like, when we mentioned this before, you even said, I don't know if this is the greatest topic or title for
Mhm.
the book. I'm just like, yeah, I think you did yourself a disservice by leaving the title for this book what it is.
Yeah.
Now, I may have come up with a different title at some point. I don't really know. If I did, I don't remember it. But yeah, that would be the major thing I would ask would be, why did you stick with this title when it doesn't seem to fit the book so well? Like I think you really kind of did yourself a disservice with that.
Mhm.
So, Jen, any questions you'd want to ask the author?
I don't know. I mean, maybe like, would you change anything now post pandemic?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mhm.
Any,
Yeah.
force or hindsight, that you have. But
Mhm.
yeah,
That's a good
that's probably
question.
it for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, any questions or anything you'd want to ask the author?
I think I would ask her, like, what does she do? Like, what led her to focus on this, and then what does she do personally in her life, like daily, month, whatever, that she finds helpful and effective.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our discussion for how to do nothing. Our next couple of books now, I think we've already kind of talked. There's going to be a little bit of shift here. The next book is Chris's book. We've done a reshuffling and a redrawing. Next
Mm-hmm.
book we're planning on for November is Chris's book. It's Half a
Half a
Soul by
Soul.
Olivia Atwater.
Yep.
Originally we were going to kick in December with Sean and my books, but I think we're going to push that maybe back to January. Number one, December tends to be kind of busy, and if we
Mm-hmm.
do a show, we may end up just doing a here's what else we've been reading type
Yeah.
episode, which we've done one of those last year, and I think that was a lot of fun. So we may end up
Yeah.
may end up doing that for December. In fact, let's kind of plan that. So pushing it back a little bit, January will be Sean. He has picked Demon by Daniel Suarez. I convinced him to pick that book because I picked the sequel to it. So February's book will be mine, Freedom, which is the direct sequel to that book. There is some harsher, gory stuff in it. Not too much. The second book, you really need the first book to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, there are some ideas proposed in the second book, Jen, you would just absolutely love. It literally is just like, fuck the entire economic system. We're going to do this. And here's how we're going to do this using the new technologies that are available. And I'm just like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Why are we making stuff when we should be shipping raw materials places and building what we need when we build it? Like they have he kind of describes a mythical 3D printer / CNC / laser cutting machine that literally you just throw metal into and it will make what you need it to make. So instead of making all this crap and just having it on shelves and stuff sitting there, possibly never being used, hey, we're going to need one of these for the new thing next week. All right, cool. I'll go ahead and set it up and get it made. And it's like, yes, let's do that. Let's not make shit and just have it eventually go to, the dump heap. Anyway. And then March, April, and May will be Joseph, Jen, and Ray's picks. So when we find out what those are, we will let you know. So let's move on to what else you've been reading. Jen, you've been reading anything else?
I read Hamnet a few weeks ago. Hamnet, which is based on the life of William Shakespeare's son Hamnet, who supposedly the name is interchangeable with Hamlet, and that is what the name for Hamlet came from. But it was a tearjerker. Like, at the beginning he dies. Like, it's on the synopsis. So he's only 11 when he dies, but it goes through, like, it's a very thick book, but it actually, like, you think, how are they going to go through like this in 300 pages? But it goes back and forth between like what happens leading up to his death and then how the parents met. And it was really interesting because, like, she never directly calls William Shakespeare by his name. She just says the father, the husband, whatever. So he's kind of like a side character. He's not the main attraction, which is, weird for a story like that. But yeah, very good writing, heartbreaking, but like great story. And they made a play out of it. I just found out it's opening on the West End, so that's interesting. But yeah, it's apparently gotten like critical acclaim and all this. And I just happened to find it at a thrift store. So that was my fiction book, and then historical fiction. And then I'm reading An Irish Atlantic Rainforest right now by a guy who bought a bunch of land on the Beara Peninsula down in County Cork, I think, in Ireland. And he has rewilded it and turned it back into like the native temperate rainforest it used to be. And it's pretty interesting. I am trying to get him on Sustainably Geeky, so we'll see if he responds to my emails.
Cool.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Chris, have you been reading anything else?
Yes. I just finished a book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It was making the rounds on Bookstagram, and I'm like, which I actually think you would like it, Eugene, because the premise of the story is these two college kids developing PC games and sort of the relationships and life that happens around PC gaming development and success and ideas and all that. So it's interesting. It's from a couple points of view, and I mean, it was cool. A lot of it, some of it I didn't understand because it's all PC gaming vernaculum, and I'm like, yeah, coding, I guess. I don't know what that means. So it's a thick book, but I liked it. It was not a nice story, but it was an interesting story.
Mhm.
And then I'm decided, because I like 2005's Pride and Prejudice, that it's about time that I read it. So I'm reading it right now. I'm really glad I watched it like half a dozen times, because I'm playing the movie in my head alongside reading it, just because
Mhm.
the book was written in the 1800s, so language is a bit different, but it's interesting. Younger me would not have read it. Younger me would have already been like, boring.
Yeah.
And then we're listening to the first Bobiverse again,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of cool because I've forgotten so much about it. So it's kind of nice to go back.
Yeah, maybe starting those up again. It's spooky season right now, so I've kind of been going through some other stuff. Like I'm re-going through Salem's Lot, which most of y'all didn't really care for, but it's still one of my favorite fucking Stephen King books. Anyway, so I actually got into kind of a slump where I was not really reading anything, so I had some credits pile up. So I actually have knocked out 3 different things. The first one is How the Force Can Fix the World. That's something I may eventually recommend for the show. The guy is definitely more on the he's definitely not far right, but he's definitely a little more conservative. That being said, he does go about it trying to be as fairly even keel as he can, and that's kind of the point of the book, is that, hey, the problem with the Jedi was they were way over here, and the problem with the Sith is they were way over here. Maybe we should kind of be in the middle, like maybe and actually work with people and stuff like that. So
Learn to compromise again.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, that was a good
Imagine that.
book. I may eventually, recommend it for this show. I also read Just After Sunset by Stephen King. It was a collection of multiple short stories. That was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that. And then I just recently picked up this last week and finished it like within a couple of days. I was just trying to find something interesting to read, and Audible recommended Ghost Stories, Stephen Fry's definitive collection, and it is read by
Ooh.
the man. And listening to Stephen Fry read ghost stories was freaking awesome. I mean, they are all old. I'm trying to think. Sleepy Hollow was one of them. What is the other one? It's like the only other thing that Bram Stoker wrote. Like the judge's house or something like that. Anyway, it was several of these different things, and I've heard about some of these stories before, but I never actually like read them or whatever. But having him read them and kind of talk about it was is just fun. It's Stephen Fry, in Stephen Fry's voice, talking about ghost stories. So that was fun. So yeah, that's what else I've been listening to. So. Well, that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please give us a 5-star rating on Audible. Audible, on iTunes, Google, wherever
We
it is
are
you
on
listen to
Audible.
the show. Yeah, well, sure, why not? But yes, you can also find us on YouTube. We do put the show up there as well at Epically Geeky. You can find our website, epicallygeeky.com, where you can find links to all the shows we do. We will start doing the shows again, including the Epically Geeky show, Sustainably Geeky, and Creatively Geeky show. And then you can find us on the social media stuff. I've gotten better about posting when we have a new episode up on at least Instagram and Facebook. X is pretty much just a wasteland at this point. So I'm really waiting for them to say, hey, it's going to be, even if it's $1, if it's $1 a year, I'm like, nope, we're out. We're done.
Yeah.
But since it's free still, I'm just like, I guess I'll post. We'll see. Anyway, where can we find you online, Jen?
You could find me occasionally, very occasionally here and on Epically Geeky, and then on Sustainably Geeky, the show that I host about the environment and all things sustainable. And we did just drop a new episode a few weeks ago after a 3-month break for the summer, unintended, but there you are. So yeah, we'll hopefully be back monthly.
Good deal.
Starting last month.
Chris.
On Instagram at Moody Midlife.
And you can follow my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, and whatever the other thing. So anyway, for everyone on this site, have a good night.